Good morning, everybody. Oh, good morning. We got a good show lined up today. Today's going to be a fun day. We got a lot going on today. Today's a long day, too, by the way. I mean, in 12 hours, I'll be sitting at crypto, and we probably won't even be at halftime. We got a good day lined up for everybody. Thank you for hanging out. Appreciate you guys being a part of the show. Thank you for being a part of the Sliwa show, Monday through Friday, starting at 8 a.m. Excited to have you guys here and excited to talk some sports, talk some Lakers with everybody. Please subscribe to the channel if you've yet to subscribe to the channel. You know, I used to before just always promote if you had your cup of coffee or tea or whatever it was, you know, cheers to you in the morning. Can I bring that back? I mean, why'd I go away from that? All of a sudden, I just stopped having coffee, and now I can't talk about how everybody else is enjoying their drinks. I got a nice cup of tea here. Already did my little, I think I showed you guys this last time, this little Magic Mind. I gotta be honest here. Kind of feeling their product here. Might have to do something with these guys. All right, we got a great show lined up. So cheers to everybody, whatever you're drinking this morning. I'm going to be doing my tea. Threw a little honey in there, some green tea action. Let me give everyone a quick rundown of what we got for the show today. We'll get the show started. We do have a guest, so it's going to be a busy day. Before I get started, a quick quote for everybody. Logic will get you from A to B. Imagination will take you everywhere. Logic will get you from A to B. Imagination will take you everywhere. If you want to fire a quote, you got something that you want to put in the chat, feel free to do so. You know, maybe like Josh, maybe you're having a beer at, what time is it? 8:02 a.m. Yeah, I'm not here to judge anybody. But Josh, if you're in the same time zone as me, then I am judging you. Go get some lemon water. Get the day started right. All right, let's give everyone a quick rundown. I'm going to come back to this in a second. 6 months of the Sliwa show. I'll come back to that in a second. All right, so we'll talk about it in a little bit. Lakers versus Warriors. Obviously, we know just a critical game tonight. Huge game. Last night, there was some movement in the standings because our San Antonio Spurs handled business against the Denver Nuggets. You know, I've always been a huge San Antonio Spurs guy. You guys know that. That's my when the Lakers need them, San Antonio Spurs, that's my squad. Lakers moved up to the number 3 spot. This obviously a huge game. I got some stats for you guys on how the Golden State Warriors have been playing since they acquired Jimmy Butler, what Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry are together. This has got some crazy hype to this game coming into it. I want to play something from Brian Windhorst in a little bit, why top 4 is so important for the Lakers. And now you're talking about potentially getting to that number 3 spot, how critical it could be for the Lakers potentially just get out of that mix of where the Thunder are, maybe avoid the Warriors in the first round. So I'll play a little bit of that as well. There was a little bit of news. I think I mentioned this last week. Maybe it was early in the week. Somebody asked me the question about Maxi Kleber, and I said, yeah, we're getting pretty close to him getting reevaluated. We should get an update today, it sounds like. So we'll talk a little bit about that if he's able to come back. What that means. AD game winner last night. I was actually watching the game. AD hits a game winner for the Atlanta Hawks. We'll get into that a little bit, not too much, but just a little bit of love for Anthony Davis. Guest today is going to be Anthony Slater. Covers the Golden State Warriors and the NBA for The Athletic. He's phenomenal. Used to have him on all the time when I was on radio. Anytime the Lakers and the Warriors play together, he's top-notch with his reporting. So we're going to get a good idea of what this game means to the Warriors and just a good idea of how big this game is going to be for both sides. And then Shohei with a walk-off yesterday. We'll talk a little bit about the NL West because really the 3 top records in Major League Baseball right now is in the NL West, which is kind of crazy to say. So we'll do a little bit of that as well. All right. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you guys being a part of the show. Let me look at a couple of these comments here real quick, and then we'll get things started. No coffee this morning, and I got to be honest with everybody. I got a lot of energy. Where the hell did that energy come from? I literally thought, you know, my life before, I thought the only way I could get through was through the lens of a cup of coffee. Hasn't been happening. All right, let me see a couple of these comments here, and we'll get going. Got a couple supers already. Good morning. Bless you all. William, thank you very much, brother. I like the love there for the chat. Came to watch Slee take a break from watching the market crash. That's good. Well, that's good to know. Basically, for the first time, I moved some money to the market right when the market crashes. No, that's great. That's phenomenal. I didn't even know that it was crashing today. All right, let's see what else we have here. Rob C. Shout out to you, brother. 4 years and 7 months. Shout out to you, Rob. It's phenomenal, brother. Phenomenal right there. Really, really great. I'm going to read one quote off, and then we're going to get rolling. Winning takes talent. To repeat takes character. Coach Jobwin, badass quote right there. All right. 6-month anniversary. I won't spend too much time on this. I did a video on this yesterday, kind of a video, a standalone video on its own. Lakers had training camp October 1st, which was a Monday. And then Tuesday, October 2nd, is when I started 100% on YouTube, started the Sliwa show, and just decided, all right, this is what I'm going to be doing now moving forward, and we'll go from there. Still was going to do Laker post games and everything else. So just a quick heads up on that. We're 6 months in. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the support. Appreciate all the subscribers. Thank you to everybody that supported the channel. Thank you to everybody that's gone out of their way, however they've done it, whether it's a membership, whether it's just subscribing, whether it's commenting, whether it's sending a super, however the hell you guys have been part of the channel. Thank you. Appreciate it. Very, very much. I appreciate it. But 6 months already in. So I love that I kind of started this whole thing right as the Lakers season was about to start. So I always know that's when the show, technically the Sliwa show started. So just a quick little thank you on that part. But we hit 6 months, and I'm very proud of that, very happy of that. And if you guys want more details and everything else, I put out a video yesterday that's just on that. Basically 6 months since starting the show, obviously how things are going since I left ESPN LA. But for the live stream as well, just wanted to give you guys a heads up on that. So thank you very much. Appreciate you all. And that's it. That's it. Show's done. Everybody have a great rest of your day. And I'll see you in a couple of weeks when the playoffs start. Lakers, Warriors. Oh, we got a good one tonight. We got a good game coming up tonight. Let me just kind of tell everyone coming into this game where we are, okay? This was actually a really good tweet that Anthony Slater had put out. Anthony Slater, who's going to come up in a little bit, coming up at 8:30. He put this tweet out yesterday, and this tweet, I think, says it all. He says the West, number 3 and number 8 are separated by 2.5 games. Warriors face the Lakers and Nuggets in their next 2 nights. Obviously, he covers the Warriors, so there's a little bit of a Warrior mix there. The number 3 to the number 8 spot are separated by 2.5 games. How about this? How about the Memphis Grizzlies have already fallen to the number 8 spot? Lakers are 46-29. There was a quick second there, right, where it looked like Memphis, Lakers, hey, is that going to be the 4-5 matchup? Who's going to have home court? All that stuff. We were talking a little bit about that. Lakers 46-29. Now on their own in the number 3 spot, Memphis dropped all the way to the number 8 spot, 44-32. There are 2.5 games that separate you from the number 3 to the number 8 spot. That's how tight this thing is in the Western Conference. That's how big this game is tonight against the Golden State Warriors. That's how big every one of these games are. You know, if you think the Lakers got a schedule, I was looking at this. The Golden State Warriors got Denver. I think they still got a matchup against Houston. Obviously, the matchup tonight against the Lakers. Everybody has key, tough matchups. And it's going to be interesting to see how it, obviously all plays out. Last night, Lakers got gifted one. Oh, I mean, San Antonio Spurs. You guys know how much I love the Spurs. The Spurs went into Denver last night. Now, I know Nikola Jokic. I know Jamal Murray didn't play, but I don't know what you want me to tell you. I mean, Jokic played the night before. I know Murray's been dealing with some health issues. Denver lost to the San Antonio Spurs. So the Lakers now are solely on their own in the number 3 position. Number 3 position is where the Lakers are sitting. This is where you want to be, by the way. This is the side of the bracket that I think gives you the best shot to try to get to the Western Conference Finals. Now, if the playoffs started today, it's not like you have a walk in the park. You get Minnesota in the first round. That's the kind of the moving and shaking that's going on with everybody in the playoffs. So I think this just kind of comes with the territory. By tomorrow, it's going to be something completely different. But by the Spurs beating the Denver Nuggets yesterday, the Lakers are sitting solely on their own in the number 3 spot. Still got another matchup against the Rockets. Getting past Houston, I think it's going to be really, really tough, but we'll see what eventually happens. Houston's got some tough games as well. But those are the current standings right now for the Lakers. Lakers in the number 3 spot, Denver at number 4, Golden State hovering, and I mean shooting up like no tomorrow, trying to catch everybody in the Western Conference. We'll talk about them in just a second. They're sitting at the number 5 spot. So really, really exciting stuff as we get ready for the game tonight. And before I even, make any mention of the actual, this is what's so exciting about it is you got so many teams that are obviously fighting for every position that's out there. Now, I want to play something. This is actually from yesterday, but it's okay. It's still very relevant. Brian Windhorst was on with Mike Greenberg, and they were talking specifically just about how important certain things are for certain teams. And in this specific case, he's obviously talking about the Los Angeles Lakers, and he's talking about how incredibly important seeding is going to be for the Lakers. And then he starts talking about how, from a bracket perspective, what part of the bracket you want to be in, what part of the bracket you don't want to be in. Take a quick listen. Here's Brian Windhorst on the Greeny Show.
Well, essentially, Greeny, the Lakers' playoffs have started because the seeding in the West makes such a big difference for them because they're one of the best teams in the league at home, 29-9, and one of the shakiest on the road at 17-20. That's the biggest differential home road in the league. So getting to that top 4 is vital, and getting those wins over the 3-day span in Memphis and then home last night against a Rockets team that had won 12 of their previous 13 games has put the Lakers in a great spot in the standings. They've now got a 2-game cushion on Golden State and Memphis, and they have the tiebreaker with those teams behind them. So it's essentially a 3-game lead to make sure they get home court in the first round. And by the way, they're going to need that cushion because next week they have to play 2 road games at Oklahoma City, and they ain't winning both of them. So they need to have that. And plus, they need to try to get away from Oklahoma City's side of the bracket, which puts them in great position now, only a game back at Denver with the tiebreaker there.
Past Denver, I want to come back to the OKC, why it's key to try to stay out of their side of the bracket. Let's let Windhorst finish here.
As well. So getting these 2 wins, additionally playing really good defense, holding them to 98 points last night. They've given up an average of 125 the previous 5. So getting that was a huge victory for the Lakers.
All right, here's why I wanted to play that, and here's the most important thing. I think what we're all looking at, and this comes with the territory. At one point of the season, you're probably saying to yourself, hey, if you could just avoid the play-in tournament, you're happy with the Lakers' current situation. Avoid the play-in tournament and kind of go from there. All right, well, that obviously, at least it looks like they're in a position to do that. I guess I'll hold my breath here until we get to the last, final couple of games or so. All right, then you start getting a little bit more greedy. All right, get greedy, and you start saying to yourself, okay, well, there's a good chance you're going to avoid the play-in tournament. Then you start looking at, can you get home court in the first round? See what happens. The Lakers are positioning themselves to potentially do that. Number 3 spot right now. I think you eventually get greedy enough to where you start asking, and there's a little bit of a cushion here because the Lakers do have a lot of these tiebreakers. Tiebreaker against the Clippers. Tiebreaker against the Warriors. Tiebreaker against Memphis. Tiebreaker against the Denver Nuggets as well. Don't forget that. They got the tiebreaker against Denver as well. They would have to win the division in order to have the tiebreaker versus Denver, which, you got to just basically hold off the Golden State Warriors in order to do so. They put themselves in a pretty interesting position from that perspective. But final thing I'll just say on this, and I think it's a good point by Brian Windhorst. I've tried to mention this as well because I do think it's important. I do think it's key. There does come a point where you start looking at matchups and you start looking at specific teams. In an ideal world for the Lakers, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful to the Houston Rockets, but that's the bracket you want to be in. That's the bracket you want to be in. I don't know who they're going to play in the first round. Golden State loses tonight. Is it now Lakers-Warriors in the first round? Just predicated on a 3-6 matchup. If Lakers lose tonight. All right, is it Lakers Denver? There's still so many different scenarios that can play out. But the one thing that I can tell you that is a lock and it is a guarantee, and I know people are going to say whatever they want on here, OKC is the real freaking deal. That's a phenomenal team. It's not avoiding them. It's trying to play them a little bit later in the playoffs. That's kind of what you're hoping for from that perspective. And we'll see if that happens. But exciting night last night of NBA basketball. And obviously for the Lakers, you feel just a little bit better that the Lakers found a way to do what they did and have put themselves obviously in this position where they're in the number 3 spot. And shout out to the San Antonio Spurs. Spurs Nation. Spurs have always been a huge Spurs fan. Always been a huge Spurs fan. Sean Elliott. Yeah, that was my guy, Sean Elliott. No, I can't even do that because that was actually too much of an era where Lakers and the Spurs were going up against each other. But I did not see that one coming last night. But obviously that was a critical loss for Denver and a critical Lakers just fortunate to move up in the standings because Denver lost that game. They've lost 2 in a row. They lost a game against Minnesota a couple days ago in double overtime, and then the one yesterday as well. All right, Lakers and the Warriors. Got a couple things here. Do you guys know what the Golden State Warriors record is since they traded for Jimmy Butler? So the trade happened on February 5th. I think the trade deadline was February 6th. And the trade deadline, or the Golden State Warriors made a trade the day before. At that time, the Golden State Warriors had a record of 25-25. They sat tied for the number 9 seed in the Western Conference. Since they traded for Jimmy Butler, they're 19-6 overall with Jimmy. They've moved up, obviously, up to the number 5 seed. And I know, you'd lose 2 games in a row. You could fall all the way back to the 8 or something along those lines. But their record, I'm gonna have to ask Anthony about this, but I saw a couple different stats on this. I believe they are now 18-2 when Jimmy and Steph play together. Warriors are balling. And there's something about Golden State. And again, this is a preference. I'm sure both franchises would prefer not to play each other in the first round, while the NBA is salivating. The NBA is like, oh, no, we'll take that. The NBA probably wouldn't even show some of the other games in the Eastern Conference in the first round. They would just have a 3-hour preview of Lakers and the Warriors for Game 2 coming up. The NBA would love to see some Lakers-Warriors. I don't know. Maybe they want to see them a little bit later in the playoffs. But there's a reason why you look at the Golden State Warriors differently now that they got Jimmy Butler. And obviously the record speaks for itself. All of a sudden they're playing really good ball. They were a team that was, like I said, hovering around 500. And now they've put themselves in a position, just looking at the standings to see what their overall record is. They're 13 games over 500. They got championship pedigree. And I think that's the difference. And this is when you talk about teams going into the playoffs, you give certain teams an advantage and you have question marks about other teams. And you know what the foundation of those question marks are? The foundations are, have you been there before and have you done it? It's why we give Denver more credit than they probably deserve, even though they won a chip 2 years ago, but they lost some key role players, but they've won a chip. Jamal Murray, Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr., Nikola Jokic, Michael Malone. You know that when push comes to shove, that's a team that's been there before and that has done it. That go to the Eastern Conference. Does it really matter what the Boston Celtics record is by the time the regular season is done? No, it doesn't matter. By the way, they're, I think, 30-something games over 500. They're phenomenal. But it's why you give them credit over Cleveland, because Cleveland's never done it before. This is what makes the Golden State Warriors the Golden State Warriors. They've been there. Steph has chips. Steve Kerr has chips. Draymond Green has chips. Jimmy Butler has been a key piece, the best player on a team that's got to the NBA Finals twice in the Eastern Conference with the Miami Heat, with honestly teams that should not have been in the NBA Finals. That dude, without actually having a ring on his finger, is as close to a champion as you can be, and he's obviously joining a crew now that has championships. Lakers. Okay. Does anybody need to explain anything to LeBron James of what it means to go win an NBA championship, get to the NBA Finals? Of course you don't. After that, listen, it is thin. It's not like the Lakers have all these guys that were on the roster from 2020. Obviously, Anthony Davis isn't there as well. I think you do have a Luka Doncic that's probably saying to himself that he feels disrespected, embarrassed. Dallas traded him. He got to the NBA Finals last year. Obviously has a chip on his shoulder. But that, I think, is what makes this game so interesting tonight, what makes this matchup so interesting tonight. And I think it's what makes the Golden State Warriors so dangerous. They're ready to go for this playoff run. I don't know how long it's going to go. I know Klay Thompson's not there anymore. I know Andre Iguodala's not there anymore. I know there's players, obviously, that they don't have from their championship teams, or Andrew Wiggins, if you want to look back when they beat the Boston Celtics. But they got a squad. So tonight should be a really, really fun game. And I think that's why you look at the Golden State Warriors completely different now. This isn't a team that's just praying to get in, knowing they're going to be out in the first round. This is a team that's kind of feasting. They're feeling themselves. Their chest is out, and it should be out. And that's why I think we got a good one coming up tonight. All right, let's take a look at some of the comments here as we get started, and we can go from there. Let's see what we got here. All right, let's see what we got here. Let me just kind of throw this one out here without even throwing a specific name. If you're an idiot, you're probably not going to be on the chat. Just don't be an idiot. I want a quote when I'm gone one day, and I want it on my grave. I just want it to say, "Don't be an idiot, Sliwa." That's it. Just don't be an idiot. That's all I'm asking for. Really not asking for much. Just don't be an idiot. Okay. So with that in mind, as we, kind of move some of the idiots away, let's see what we got here. The one thing OKC has going against them is experience. Single game OKC can beat anyone in a series. Experience plays out a bit more. Let me be very clear with this. It's a very, very, very fair statement to say about OKC. It feels like they're ready to go. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Once the postseason starts, we'll obviously see what happens. Let's keep going here. If Minnesota plays OKC, that'd be an unbelievable matchup. That'd be a phenomenal matchup. All right, I got a couple here that are starred here. Let me get to a couple. Morning Slee. Lay, thank you for coming on here. Today's game got 10 times more important after Denver's loss last night. Winning the next two will give us cushions ahead of cushions ahead of the two OKC games. Okay, well let's put these two together. I dare not say this. But I'm assuming Lakers are going to beat the Pelicans tomorrow. Now, I also assumed the Lakers were going to beat Chicago. I also assumed the Lakers were going to beat Brooklyn. I also assumed Lakers were going to beat Charlotte. I also assumed Lakers were going to beat Utah. Lakers have lost to some shitty teams. And I'm talking about, games at home or games that they just should have won. But I do think there's something about if you get tonight, you have to feel pretty good about tomorrow before you got those two matchups coming up against the Oklahoma City Thunder. So, I think it's a good point. Tonight's going to be a dogfight. You kind of already knew that the game against Houston was going to be really tough. I think Memphis has just fallen off. I don't know what's going on with them. They fire their coach this late into the season. It sounds pretty absurd, to be honest with you. But let me just, say this in regards to the game tonight. Warriors know how important and critical this game is for them as well. Warriors are in a position right now where they could potentially get home court in the first round. Yeah, let's just say they beat the Lakers tonight. They got Denver coming up tomorrow. They can find the way. They can find their way to get into the mix here, where they have a first round home series starting. Who the hell would have thought of that a month ago or a month and a half ago or something along those lines? So you will get the absolute best shot from the Golden State Warriors tonight. It's going to be a tough game. Really will be. I think it's a toss-up game either way, but I know what you're saying. You get one tonight. You assume you get one against New Orleans. You got a little bit of cushion against the Oklahoma City Thunder coming up. Don't forget Dallas is in that mix as well next week. Porky. Look, we're opposite on all of this here. Porky's got go Dodgers and go Clippers. I got go Padres and I got go Lakers. You want to talk about polar opposites here. Polar opposites. Thank you for the super, brother. I appreciate you. Dodgers ever going to lose a game? That ever going to happen? Seiko, as I say that, Padres have also not lost a game. Knock on wood. Knock on wood. Seiko, technically these last games are like a play-in. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how a lot of this plays out. Man, can I say this? I tried saying this yesterday when, you had Nikola Jokic have his 60-point triple-double. You had Steph with the 12 threes and had his 52-point performance. By the way, I don't know why Steph didn't try to break the record. Clay's got 14. I'll never forget when I tell Michael Thompson, when I was doing a pregame with Michael, and I think that 14-point game was going on while we're doing the pregame show. And I want to say he did it against the Chicago Bulls. Clay broke the all-time record for the most three-pointers in a game. And he did it. He had 14. And if you sat here and Michael was sitting right next to me and I said, Michael, what do you remember about that game where Clay hit 14 threes? And he said, well, he should have had 18. That he missed, I guess, how many ever threes towards the end of that game. What Michael wanted, he wanted that three-point record to be out of reach. 14 is catchable. Take Steph, got 12. What Michael wanted was you get to 17, 18, that record's probably not getting broken. That's what you remember, Michael? You don't remember that Clay broke the record? He's like, no, I remember that he didn't get as many as he should. But these last few games are all playing basically, every one of these games. Oh, this is a point that I was going to make. So you had those two performances yesterday. Nikola Jokic did what he did. Steph Curry 2 days ago. And look at how exciting the Western Conference is right now. Look how many different games are so meaningful as we get down to the stretch. With all that being said, I really hope networks out there, national media, individuals, they got huge platforms. If you're going to shit on the NBA the way most people do, please do me a favor. And when there are days where there are things that the NBA deserves credit, individuals get credit, how exciting it is with the NBA standings, this and that, can you also play it the other way? Can you also, if you're going to be critical about the league and not, enjoy some of these players or load management or however, whatever it is that you're complaining about, when the league is also at its best, can you also give the league credit? Can we just have that balance, please? Am I asking for too much here? I hope I'm not. And I don't think I am. All right, we're going to have our guests on here in just a second, Anthony Slater. Before we do so, I do want to give a shout out to a great partner of the show, great partner of the Sliwa show, personal friend of mine. A shout out to Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm. This guy has supported me since I was over at 710 ESPN, decided to kind of come with me here once I came to YouTube. And, it's a risk for him as well. He doesn't really know what to expect coming over here, kind of more taking my word for it, believing in my mission and believing in the channel and everything else. So shout out to Brad Wallace. If you or someone you know is in a serious injury, you should reach out to Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm. Let him walk you or your family through your legal options. I'm sure it's a very intimidating and daunting process. Let an expert in the field help you. He can help anyone in the state of California. If you ever need me to make an introduction, I'm happy to do so. We did create a URL, wallacewins.com/Sliwa, to get a free consultation. Again, that's wallacewins.com/Sliwa. You can get a free consultation. Again, I hope you never have to reach out to him, but if you do, he'll be able to help. I hope your family or yourself is never in a situation where you need a personal injury attorney, but at the same time, things happen in life and you find yourself in that predicament. Let me try to help you by making a personal introduction to Brad Wallace, or you can go to the URL that we have here, as I mentioned. Again, he can help anybody in the state of California, and shout out to him. Thank you very much for being a partner, and thank you very much for being a part of the show. All right, let me read a couple more comments here, and then we're going to keep we'll keep things going. I'm going to wait on, there's a couple other topics that I was going to get into, but I'll wait on. Actually, do I squeeze it? No, I'll wait on it till we're done with the interview here. But I do have a couple of things here that I want to talk about. A couple of things I want to talk about in regards to potentially the Lakers getting back Maxi Kleber. All right, let's see what else we have here. Curry will cool off tonight. Worried about Jimmy and his free throws, though. Yeah, I've said this before. what's interesting to me is anytime the Lakers get a chance to face a team where you really haven't seen, it was exciting to see the Lakers against Memphis. It was exciting to see Lakers at Denver the first time when it was Luka and LeBron. It was exciting to see the Lakers versus the Rockets. What was that on Monday? And tonight kind of falls into the same category. Jimmy Butler on the Golden State Warriors with Steph Curry and LeBron and Luka. It's exciting to see these matchups because we haven't seen them. You know, yesterday, got a chance. I had Lauren Jones on, who does a phenomenal job kind of covering the Lakers and NBA and everything else. And we both were sitting there. It's like, we don't have any data. We don't have data for a game like this. We don't have data in some of these other games. So that's why it makes games like this, you know, obviously exciting. All right, let's get a couple more in this here. All right, let's see what else we have here. Let me actually just squeeze this in here before we have our guests come on. We may have an update here on Maxi Kleber, and it looks like it might be coming tonight. Jovan Buha yesterday put up a video of Maxi Kleber getting some shots up. So he was getting some shots. You know, it's not like he was doing, you know, these crazy drills or anything like that. But Lakers head coach JJ Redick said that there'd be a Kleber update today before the Lakers take on the Golden State Warriors. Listen, I'm not trying to tell you that Maxi Kleber is going to be, you know, he's going to be as valuable as Draymond Green or as valuable as some other big in the league. Lakers need Kleber. Guy's got a lot of experience in the NBA. I know in the postseason, he's had plenty of games to, I think, 44 games in the postseason, 6.5 points, 4 rebounds, 25 minutes a game when he's played in the postseason. I don't know what the update's going to be, but you guys see how thin the Lakers are when it comes to size. You guys see how thin the Lakers are when it comes to, you know, obviously just not having enough bigs. There's only so much that the Lakers can do. Maxi would be phenomenal to have on this team. He really would. He'd be phenomenal to have on this team the rest of the way. But I also don't want to get my hopes up on that. The last thing I want to do is get my hopes up in a position or a situation for the Lakers and you can't rely on him or he's not there. So let's just wait for the update tonight, because when the Lakers got their introduction for Luka, everybody kind of forgot, hey, Markieff Morris, Maxi Kleber, they're also part of the trade. They came in and they ended up, you know, eventually talking. And when they did talk, Maxi Kleber said, yeah, I'm going to be reevaluated. I think the way he put it was 8 weeks. Okay, we're now right at that 8-week mark, right? Right at that 8-week mark. Since we're at that 8-week mark, we'll get a little bit of an update, but I don't want to I don't want to be too optimistic about anything until we hear something. All right, Peter. Morning, Slee. Lakers are in a perfect spot. If they go 5-2 the rest of the way, they would stay, I believe, in the 3 spot. Oh, I don't think there's anybody out here that wouldn't take a 5-2 record. You know, if you really think about it, and it's going to be difficult. Warriors tonight, I'm just going to name off the teams that you can easily lose. Warriors, 2 against OKC, 1 against the Houston Rockets. And I think that Dallas Mavericks game is a little bit sneaky, to be honest with you. So they're going to have some work to do if that's going to be the case. All right, as promised here, I want to welcome in our guest to the show, Anthony Slater, who covers the Golden State Warriors for The Athletic. What's up, man? What's going on?
I'm on day 14 of a 14-day road trip. So just like the Warriors, theoretically, I'm a little beat down, but I'm here.
You know, I don't think the Beats get enough credit for and not even that, just like when they say load management, Anthony's not taking any games off. No. He's here every day.
It's funny you say that. I'm like looking at this. They're ending this 14-day trip tonight, and then which is crazy, but they're playing a back-to-back at home tomorrow, putting their bags down and going and playing the Nuggets at home tomorrow.
Tomorrow's Denver?
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm like, and Denver's like waiting for them already in San Francisco.
Yeah.
I'm like, can I take that game off? Like typically you would, but it's like, man, that's a really big game too. So We'll
Well,
see.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you coming on. I know you and I. We ran into each other at one of the games. Obviously, Lakers Warriors matchup. But I'd mentioned to you. Obviously, I was doing my own thing now, just here on YouTube.
Yeah.
So I was appreciated. Thank you for doing that. I know we used to always connect radio wise. So thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, can Michael Thompson hop on like old times, and we can talk some Clay even?
Michael.
Clay and the Mavericks.
Yeah, Michael. Yeah, he's here. He's here with me. Michael will be there tonight. He will be.
Yes. Yes.
He'll be ready to go. All right. So I think, it's kind of funny seeing this matchup, and we don't really have, that's kind of the point I was trying to make. We don't have any data on this.
No.
We don't have, and this is kind of the situation the Lakers have been in since they traded for Luka. That first road game at Denver, it's like, all right, well, Denver's maybe owned the Lakers, but AD's not here anymore. Now the team is completely different. Had this recently, Lakers played Memphis on Saturday, first time we've seen them. Houston on Monday, first time we've seen them. And here we are, Lakers and the Warriors. Last time they played, I know Jimmy didn't play in that game. And
it was his introductory press conference.
That's what it was.
And
it was in LA.
Yeah,
right.
It's very interesting. That night was trade deadline day. Luka had not played yet for the Lakers, but he was on the bench. And then, Jimmy Butler shows up. That's the first time anybody besides Mike Dunleavy really met him, in the Warriors organization. And they were the 11th seed. And now they're the 5 seed. This is the highest they've been since December 14th, with this outside chance here. If they beat the Lakers and they beat the Nuggets, which is going to be very difficult to do. Let's say they theoretically did that. We're talking home court, 3 or 4 seed possibilities for them, with also the downside of you lose these 2 games, you stumble a little bit, you're in the 7-8 and your season's again on the line. So, but to the, general point is the last time that these teams saw each other, which really was not that long ago, less than 2 months, Luka hadn't played yet for the Lakers, Jimmy hadn't played yet for the Warriors. And yes, clearly those 2 have completely changed their team.
It's funny when you say that, when you said it was the day of the trade deadline that they played.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I remember the delay. Everyone was waiting on the official of Mark Williams for the Lakers.
Yeah.
And they weren't talking.
I think Rob Pelinka did a presser that was kind of talking about him like a member of the team, really.
So I'll tell you what happened. It was kind of everybody thought, all right, maybe they're going to make this thing official before JJ even talks, before both coaches talk. And then they're like, nope, it's not official yet. And then I think maybe tip-off was at 7. And I think 6:30, Pelinka did a private with just, the beats. Yep, part of the team, that whole thing. And we obviously know how it went. But, that is it makes me think, because I remember even the Jimmy Butler thing. I heard people saying, Jimmy's going to do his introductory press conference. I'm like, here? They're like, he's going to be doing it here.
It's
so that
funny. I was, as a selfish beat writer, I was like, let's wait for Chicago. Give them a little time. Let's just do it when there's going to be not nearly as many national media, because it ended up being a stacked press room, obviously, for his presser. But different time. That was one of the wilder nights of the year. For sure.
Okay, I want to ask you this, because before we get into the specifics of the Warriors and kind of the dynamic and how things have changed since Jimmy Butler got there. You were just talking about how, hey, if the Warriors win 2 in a row here tonight and tomorrow, this is where they could be. But you know what? If they stumble in these 2 games, that's how far they can fall back. I was mentioning this just a second ago, and you saw Steph's 52-point performance. Nikola Jokic had his 60, 10 and 10 against the Minnesota Timberwolves. I feel like the noise when people want to complain about the NBA is much louder than when the NBA is great. And I don't want to just use one night where 2 iconic players have great performances, but you sent out a tweet yesterday that said, here's the difference between the number 3 spot and the number 8 spot in the Western Conference. They're separated by 2.5 games. That to me sounds like that's an unbelievable storyline. The different matchups that you can get in the first round, whether it's Lakers Warriors or Lakers Minnesota or Denver Warriors in the first. I'm just making up whatever it could be. Why is the noise so much louder from your perspective when there's something to bitch about then versus there's something to compliment about. Is that just kind of the nature of
I was gonna say it's
the
society,
world today,
right? Yeah, yes, I think so. It's how you just choose to view life in some ways. I mean, and I'm not telling anybody how or how not to, but people whine about the NBA regular season. They love to talk ratings, whatever. Like, this has been a fascinating regular season for me to cover on the ground level. And like, I'm not just talking about right now in a playoff chase. I can go back to December. I remember when, again, people are like, oh, the dog days, this or that. I'm like, the two teams I'm around most, the three teams I'm around most, the Thunder are having this historic like regular season, just like they're stunning to watch on a nightly basis right now. The Warriors were in this like free fall panic mode, trying to figure out this existential crisis, which obviously ended with them trading for Jimmy Butler. But like, it felt every night at the arena, it was like there was like not legacies on the line, but like the future of this like fading dynasty was being debated. And it was kind of fascinating stuff to watch on a nightly basis. The Lakers were kind of in their own way going through the same thing. And the third team I'm around most, the Sacramento Kings, were in full panic mode. They ended up firing their coach, like their seasons, kind of being blowtorched, and we're seeing it right now. But like every night you would go to the arena in Sacramento and it was just tension and the filled up arena. And it felt like, this lead they were losing to the Pistons in December was like, this panic moment for the franchise. And then you wake up the next day after I'm in this just like swirling drama in every franchise I'm around. And then it's like you read covers the next day and people are like, oh, what a yawn the NBA regular season is. I'm like, y'all are not in these arenas or around these franchises and around these people trying to make these huge decisions on should they make a trade, should they keep a coach, whatever. So to me, that's just allowed people online just wanting to talk because, yeah, you know what? Maybe there's not that many eyeballs watching Pistons Magic, at 4 p.m. Pacific, but like the thirst for the league and the coverage of the league and the interest in the league, to me, is just remains very fervent. And I think you saw that in the TV deal they got.
Okay, I'll come back to the Thunder because I think I got a few questions. I'd love to hear from you in regards to that. But let's Lakers Warriors tonight. What is the record? What's the exact number? Steph and Jimmy when they play together. Is it like 17, 18-2, something like that?
I think
thought I saw
that. Maybe 19-2 at this point, maybe 18-2, but about that. I could actually, I mean, it's around there, which is all you really need to know.
So when the trade happened, Jimmy Butler comes to the Golden State Warriors. Can you just tell me Jimmy Butler is going to make the team better. And I don't know if anybody's predicting 19-2. That's obviously absurd with those two playing together. But what did you think coming in? And then what's the actual reality of having Jimmy Butler on this team that's been such a game changer?
Yeah, I think there was just a little bit too much. We got lost in how bad it got in Miami and how much he, went to his burn the house down playbook that he loves when he wants to get out of places, which that's a thing you don't want him to do to your franchise. So there's concern about that. But the reality is that Mike Dunleavy, who played with Jimmy Butler, and he's the GM, he pulled the lever, he pushed for this deal, and really kind of got him on a bargain because of how bad it was in Miami, right? They just gave up, Andrew Wiggins and a first-round pick, essentially, and some filler. He was the one saying, like, no, y'all need to realize how good he is at basketball. And I think that has gotten lost in the swirling drama. And not only that, they decided Mike Dunleavy pushed for this to give him an extension, which might look very risky 2 years from now when he's 37 and making, $54 million a year. But their thought was like, they lined this deal up with Steph and Draymond, and like that's the end of the road, it would seem, for this team. And they're paying on the backside for the now and this playoff run and maybe their next playoff run. And as far as he's been better than, like, watching him on a nightly basis, you realize a little bit of the IQ and the genius nature to his game that maybe people who don't see him on a nightly basis don't realize. The foul drawing, which, I know people in the league love, like the foul baiters, but he finds a way to muscle himself to the line, which is something the Warriors didn't have. I would say the fit was better than people thought because they just didn't realize how weak the Warriors were in the areas he's strong, which is, rim attacks, getting to the line, help side defense, like kind of that extra playmaker that they didn't have that Steph needed. The way he sewed up some of the non-Steph minutes, you'll see it tonight when Steph goes off the floor. That used to just be like attack time for the other team. And sure, like the Lakers might go on a little run tonight when Steph's off the floor, but they're much more settled and professional with Jimmy Butler out there in every non-Steph Curry minute. And like he's also just like competitively, he brought an attitude to the team that invigorated Draymond Green, who suddenly he just won Defensive Player of the Month. Obviously, he's campaigning for Defensive Player of the Year, but like he's bringing a different level of defensive force because he's like, I got Jimmy Butler next to me and we can win the title. Prior to the trade, they didn't think that. And you know how human nature is. You know, I think they were a little worn down by the idea of how mediocre they were. And so I would include Steph Curry in that. Jimmy got here and he had a different pep to his step and he just started, hitting 8 threes a game. And I think just Jimmy's arrival had something to do with that. And then everybody else kind of got slotted into their proper place. Podziemski started playing better. Moody started playing better, all that. So it just did so much for their team.
What do you make of, so they've had the success that they've had. Everything is still so kind of clogged in the Western Conference.
Yeah.
When you try to zoom out a little bit and you compare the Warriors to some of the other teams in the West, is it still tough to kind of figure out, hey, if the Warriors got the Rockets in a 7-game set or Denver in a 7-game set or the Lakers in a 7, and I won't mention the Thunder yet. I'm going to kind of leave them in a class of their own. But seeing all these other teams and seeing the amount of success that the Golden State Warriors had, because I think the Lakers, you could kind of say the same thing. Okay, what does it look like against this squad in a 7-game set? What would it look like here? Here's some advantages, disadvantages. Just what does it make the Warriors, you think, right now in the West based on what they've done to get to this point, but knowing you're going to have 7-game sets against some other really good teams?
Are you like kind of like where you would power rank them essentially?
I guess maybe you could put it that way. Yeah, I maybe the style of play that would really would hurt them, the style of play that would play to their benefit.
Yeah, I think a team that can wall off the rim and like force like them into Draymond Green threes and floaters, Jimmy Butler, kind of like 12-foot mid-rangers, late in the clock stuff. They could, and honestly, like you would probably, I assume, say that the Lakers are better now with Luka instead of Anthony Davis, and certainly are set up better for the future. There's no question about that. But like Anthony Davis gave the Warriors a lot of problems because he's the type of big that just like clogs their offense, where teams can oversell to make it so Steph Curry just does not get threes off as much as he wants to, and then forcing Draymond Green to try to hit like little 8-footers over Anthony Davis's like leaping arms. Like I think the Warriors are game planning today, understanding like, look, if Luka hits 5 step back left wing threes, like they're in trouble, but they're also like feeling a breath of like, oh, at least Anthony Davis is not down there. It's Jackson Hayes. It's going to be Jimmy Butler getting down there, throwing a pump fake and trying to just jump into Jackson Hayes. There's just more of a belief that they can do a lot of they have a very unique offense. You know this, right? Jimmy Butler's the tallest player in their starting lineup. You'll see it tonight. They're tiny. And it used to, when they would play the Lakers, you've seen this the last several years, it was like, oh, the size, you just immediately when the game starts could see like the difference in size of these teams. And I don't think you're going to see that as much tonight. I think the Lakers are still bigger, stronger, right? LeBron's big and strong. Luka's big for his position, but the size disadvantage won't be as big a thing. And I think the Lakers are better, but to your point, the teams that typically give this Warriors group more of a challenge are dogged wing defenders, particularly one guy that can just chase Steph Curry around, and then with a rim protector on the back end. Memphis, for example, a few years ago, where it was Jaren Jackson back there, Dylan Brooks and DeAnthony Melton just like kind of wrestling with Steph, and they would just pick him up out, at half court. Like those are the teams that the Warriors typically struggle with.
I don't know how much you've got a chance to see the Lakers since they got Luka. Obviously, you're covering and you're all over the place. But what have you made? You said that the Lakers have a better shot now than they did with AD. When that trade happened for me, I thought this was like, okay, whatever happens this year happens. But really, it's going to be about building around Luka moving forward and everything else. They've done better than I thought. I didn't think that we'd be sitting here on April 3rd. They'd be in the number 3 spot, however you want to credit that. They went through a stretch before LeBron got injured where they went through a 20-4 stretch. That ain't easy in the NBA. So with all that being said, what have you made of just what you've seen kind of on the outside of how the Lakers have been able to go on this run that they've had?
Yeah, I mean, Draymond said it the other night. He was kind of asked about this game, and he was like, "This is a different Austin Reeves," is one of the things he mentioned. He's like, "This is not the same Austin Reeves that we've played in the past." Like, clearly, he's taken some kind of leap here, which has been, I think, huge for them, right? To kind of have that third guy elevate his game. I think just the way the Mavericks trade went down, I think we all understood was like, man, this is going to motivate Luka Doncic, and a motivated Luka Doncic typically is a scary Luka. And I still don't think he's necessarily hit,
I agree.
fifth gear.
I agree.
Which, and then he usually does in the playoffs, right? He historically has elevated his game in the playoffs. And that's where the ceiling, I think, is higher. But this Lakers team is just like the playoff level performances from, LeBron and Luka. And I think LeBron, part of this trade is like LeBron's ability to conserve energy a little bit more. And either that means conserve energy for later, like in the year for April, May, June, or conserve energy to use it to play better defense, or rebound. It's a little bit like what Jimmy Butler's doing for the Warriors, which is like any given night, if it's hey, Jimmy, they need you to get 12 rebounds. Hey, they need you to get 10 assists. They need you to individually guard somebody. No, they need you to be free safety and help side and wreak havoc on the help side. Jimmy Butler can kind of mold his game into whatever the Warriors need on that specific night. And I do think the way the Lakers are now built allows LeBron to do that a little bit, right? To just kind of do the Swiss Army knife stuff that makes him so good. So they're dangerous. Dorian Finney-Smith, I know, is like shooting it, playing it well.
Great addition.
That turns out to be a very underrated trade. And it'll probably come down to like Gabe Vincent hitting threes, just like for any team. Often it comes down to role players hitting threes at big moments. But they're scary, and I would repeat a higher ceiling than I think prior.
What do you expect tonight? I think it's kind of funny sometimes when I see expectations from when you kind of see from an expectation perspective, and people will say, "Oh, they don't want to show their cards or this or that." Both teams need the W. I don't think there's a hold back anything in a game like tonight.
No, there can't be. And I would say the Warriors have been like really throttling up their like game planning and practicing for a veteran team. It's a team that they are on, like I said, day 14 of a 14-day road trip, but they practice a bunch. They are going to have a shoot around this morning that I know is going to, bleed long, just like it did in Memphis, because as Steve Kerr has said, they're starting to implement more like playoff style specific game plans that, in January and when you're in Detroit or whatever, oftentimes it's like, no shoot today, no specific game plan, just go out, try to win the game, whatever. Like, no, this is going to be schemed up like it's a play-in game or a, game one of a series on both sides, and guys are going to play. That's the other thing. Like Jimmy Butler in the Memphis game, Zach Edey came down and stepped on his foot, and he's, howling on the ground for about 10 seconds and limping around for the next 2 minutes. And then I see him in the locker room and it's hurting, right? His left foot, his left ankle's hurting. And I think if the stakes aren't what they are, you would see him on the injury report either as questionable or as out. Especially in a back-to-back, his age, 35 years old. Like, no, he's playing tonight. LeBron's playing tonight. Luka's playing tonight. Steph, who, fell hard on his tailbone a week ago. He's wearing like a plate right now on his back, like a butt pad almost. Like, if this game didn't mean that much, he might not play. He'd sit one side of this back-to-back. You can't do that right now.
Yeah.
Because not only do you want your season to not be on the line in the play-in bracket, but also, as the Warriors have mentioned, I know the Lakers feel this too, you really want that week off before the playoffs for rest and preparation. You avoid the play-in, that means you play the last Sunday of the regular season, and then you will not play game one until the next Saturday, Sunday. You can prep and rest for that. If you're in the play-in, you're playing a big Tuesday, Wednesday night fierce game to try to get the 7th seed. You lose that, you're doing a Friday night season on the line game, and even if you win that, you're going into Oklahoma City 2 nights later for game one to probably just get smoked. So that's what's on the line right now, right? Avoiding that disaster scenario. So yeah, they're gonna come out steaming. You're not going, let's not use this scheme because we don't want the Lakers to see this for game one of a theoretical 4-5 series, which might play itself out. But you just can't think like that right now.
Final one for you, brother, and I appreciate you taking the time. You mentioned the Thunder. and I said I want to wait on that one. Just describe the Oklahoma City Thunder from your perspective, and if most people who sit back and say, all right, well, here's going to be their flaw. Their flaw is going to be, you get to the playoffs, how much can you depend on them, experience, everything else.
Yeah.
Are the Thunder, do you think they're ready to represent the West and potentially win an NBA championship? Are they that far advanced as far as where they should be?
Yeah, I mean, I'm starting to think so. I actually leaked off this Warriors road trip, and I went to 2 games in Oklahoma City. And I watched them play a very good Pacers team, and Chet Holmgren missed the game, and Isaiah Hartenstein left in the first half, and they went small, and they ran the Pacers out of the gym. A good Pacers team. 2 nights later, they're facing the Bulls, who've been playing decent. Again, these are average.
Bulls beat the Lakers twice in 5 days.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and they had played small 2 nights earlier and crushed the Pacers to the point that Rick Carlisle post game said this is the best team on the planet. And Rick Carlisle's like selective with his words, right? But he was just like, that's the best team on the planet. And then 2 nights later against the Bulls, they had both their bigs back, Holmgren and Hartenstein play. They go double big because they're trying to see those guys more together because Holmgren's missed so much of the season that they haven't, they're just trying to get data on those two. And they just went double big and just overwhelmed the Bulls. They were up 40, in the third quarter. They have last night where they blew out the Pistons. It was their 50th double-digit win in the season. 50 double-digit wins. It ties an NBA record set by the Wilt Chamberlain, Jerry West Lakers in like 72. They had just passed the Kevin Durant Warriors teams that had had 48 double-digit wins. I just say that like this is a dominant regular season. It's a historic regular season. The Lakers are about to see them. The Thunder's 18-1 in their last 19, and maybe they're going to rest guys down the stretch. Maybe the Lakers get a game off them, whatever. But if they go 6-0, and right now they're on a 12-game win streak to finish this, they win 70 games. They would be the 3rd team ever to win 70. It's still on the table for them. Best point differential in NBA history, best net rating in NBA history, or they were right there tied with the 96 Bulls for that. Like they're doing historic stuff. I know sometimes people see the post-game interviews where they're dressing up Nick Gallo, the sideline reporter, and they're all there and are like, oh, look at this young, goofy team. Like, if you're around them, it's an extraordinarily disciplined operation. They are fierce about like the winning side of the game. They all buy into their roles. Chet Holmgren's not coming back from injury like where my touch is. I'm trying to get this or that. Like they take winning very, very serious. I personally, having been around them and seen some of the stuff they've done this year, I would consider them huge favorites in the West. And every statistical indicator and who they've been and as a regular season team and who they compare to are all, legendary NBA champions. So in a lot of ways, and I think Vegas now has them as the title favorites, I would be concerned about them in a series against like the Celtics, but I think they should win the West. And I think I would say I would pick them to win the West very comfortably.
Well, I didn't know, right when you said that you've got an opportunity to kind of cover them in a few games. I'm like, all right, let me get some insight on that. Great stuff, Anthony. I'm looking forward to the game tonight. We'll obviously see you out there at the game, but I greatly appreciate your time and your insight.
Yep. All right.
Thank you, man. All right. Yep. That is Anthony Slater right there. Good stuff. Good dude. Very, very good dude. Was, like I mentioned a couple different times, he was always very nice with his time back in the day on radio, and nice of him to come on the YouTube show. It's interesting. I had no idea that, he said that he covers a few different teams. And one of the teams that, he's obviously kept track on is the Thunder. Listening to him with some of the statistical things that he's talking about, that's absurd. Absurd what they've done. All right, let's take a look at some of the comments here. Let's take a look at some of the comments. Oh my God, Spurs beat the Nuggets. It's my team. Love the Spurs. All right, let's see what else we have here. Let's see what else we got here. All right. It's a lot of comments from one person there. I saw the comments. Wow, it's a lot of comments. Let's take a quick second here, huh? Okay, we got a couple of things I want to get into Rockets scored 140 yesterday. Shows how good the Lakers defense was against them. They didn't even get to 100. Yeah, that game was a tough game. Lakers and the Rockets. That was a fun game on certainly on Monday. Just kind of a tough, gritty game for both squads. All right, Lakers got the Warriors coming up tonight. Let me just a couple quick things here. I don't know if you guys got to see this. Anthony Davis yesterday for the Golden State Warriors or for the Dallas Mavericks. AD last night hits a game winner. Kind of an ugly game, to be honest with you. It's really the first time I got to see kind of Dallas since no Kyrie. Obviously, Anthony Davis back. AD hits a game winner. He was great. He was phenomenal. 34 points, 15 rebounds, 5 blocks in just 30 minutes yesterday. They moved a game and a half in front of the Sacramento Kings. Looks like they've got a good shot of locking up that number 9 spot. Best they can do is, obviously get out of the play-in and then see Anthony Davis get a chance to go up against the Oklahoma City Thunder. And I think everybody knows what the result of that is going to be. The only thing interesting I would say for Dallas, and it was, listen, I will say this. It was cool to see AD healthy. It was cool to AD do some things for the Dallas Mavericks. You guys know I was a proponent of him trying to come back if he was healthy. And here he is, and, he's doing his thing. The only thing interesting with them, Derek Lively II came back yesterday. He played for the first time since January. Daniel Gafford, it's his second game back, coming back from a sprained knee. So they got some guys back. They got, most of the players they were hoping for, but obviously the most devastating one is not having Kyrie. So for them to actually make a real run, that's not going to happen without Kyrie Irving. So something to keep in mind from that perspective. Just wanted to mention that real quick. And then the final thing that I want to get into in today's show, and I appreciate you guys hanging out. AD is good. Problem is his availability. William, AD is a dog sometimes and sometimes a cat. I understand that. I get how people feel about them. I get how people feel about Anthony Davis, but I think most people feel like they give him a lot of love. All right, let's get a couple more in here. Slee, new look Lakers and Warriors is so unpredictable matchup. I mean, I cannot say if we will win by 10 or 20. It's going to be a good game. I don't see. I mean, the Rockets game was, I thought was just going to be a tough, hard-fought game without really knowing what direction either squad would go in. Tonight against the Warriors, I'm kind of, if I could be honest with you, I'm kind of really confused about this game. I don't know what to expect in this game as well. I will tell you this. I think the Golden State Warriors are playing this game tonight like it's like Anthony Slater had mentioned, I think other people had mentioned as well, almost as if it's a playing game. That's how I think all these people are going to be treating these games. Okay, final thing I do want to get real quick here. Last night, the Dodgers improved to 8-0. Shohei hit a walk-off home run to push the Dodgers to 8-0. And, it's kind of interesting here real quick. There was a really, really cool piece on ESPN that just talked about Shohei. There's certain players in sports that when the moment has significance, they become better than they already are. And we already know how great, obviously Shohei Ohtani is. So Shohei yesterday was bobble night for Shohei Ohtani, bobblehead night. Dodgers playing the still winless Atlanta Braves, who are now 0-7 on the season. And what ESPN did, I thought was interesting. They said August 23rd last year, Ohtani reached the 40-40 club with a walk-off grand slam. 5 days later, he had a second giveaway of his bobblehead. And in that game, Ohtani led off the game with a home run. And it was on the first, I don't know if it was on the first pitch, but he led off the game with a home run. September 19th, we all remember this one, that Ohtani clinched his first postseason berth, and he got into the 50-50 club with one of the greatest single-game performances in baseball history: 6 hits, 3 home runs, 2 steals, and 10 RBIs. First playoff game in his career, he hits the 3-run homer. We remember that. And I'm just mentioning all this because it seems like every single time there is something significant with Ohtani, you're just expecting something to happen. A lot of quotes after the game. There are a lot of people saying, yeah, there's almost like no surprise from some of these players here. Dodgers now 8-0. I do think the stat that's interesting about them, 6 comeback wins this season. 6 comeback wins so far this season for the Dodgers. I think the other piece that's very, very interesting, if you go look at the MLB standings right now, and I'm not even talking about the NL West, and I'm not even talking about the NL. If you go to the overall standings in Major League Baseball right now, Dodgers 8-0, Padres 7-0, Giants 5-1, the 3 best records right now in Major League Baseball. Look, will that be the same in a month? No, it won't. Probably not. I think the question is always going to be, I think we know what to expect from the Dodgers. The question is going to be the rest of the teams in the NL West. But even the Arizona Diamondbacks, they're 4-2, which they're supposed to be good. And I think a lot of people expect them to be good. But just kind of crazy to see that much success from the NL West already. The 3 best records in the NL or in Major League Baseball right now are the Dodgers, the Padres, and the San Francisco Giants. So obviously these squads kind of setting the pace right now in Major League Baseball, which certainly makes kind of a fun start to the season. All right, let's take a look. Yeah, I will tell you this. I think the scary thing, to be honest, is the scary thing for the Dodgers to me is sometimes when you win a championship or you win a World Series or you win a Super Bowl or something along those lines, there's a little bit of like, all right, well, we don't have to put our foot on the gas in April, right? The Kansas City Chiefs, they look a certain way in September compared to December. I'm just using the Chiefs. I know they didn't win it this year, but I don't really sense that with the Dodgers. There's still this, kind of crazy sense of urgency even after winning a World Series. Now, granted, listen, they got by far the most talent of any team in Major League Baseball. So, just by pure talent, they can win a lot of games, but there also seems like there's a little bit of a sense of urgency from them as well. Padres doing what? They're kind of, I didn't expect that. Let's put it that way. They swept the Braves and they swept the Guardians. So 7-0 so far. What's really going to come down to them. I don't know how much depth they have. So if you got an injury or two here, I think that's really going to hurt them. And then just pitching is going to be the question. I like their first 2. I'm not really sure what happens after that. Obviously, Michael King, Dylan Cease, I think they're 2 solid pitchers. We'll see what happens after that. Let's see what we got here. If you don't know why Steph didn't try and break the record, that means you weren't watching the game. I was not watching the game. I think he took 2 threes. Maybe it was the start of the 4th quarter, if I read this right, and then just kind of shut it down. Maybe I'm just assuming they were up big or something along those. I'm not 100% sure. So if you want to educate us on this, you can. Let's see what we got here. Okay. I think we're good for today. A phenomenal show. Thank you to Anthony Slater. Thank you to everybody that hung out for the show today. 6-month anniversary of doing the Sliwa show on YouTube. So I appreciate everybody hanging out for that. Shout out to Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm for being a partner of the show. So thank you very much for that as well. I will be back tonight. Obviously, we're going to have Lakers and the Golden State Warriors. Slee is still hanging with Cap in San Diego. We I think should be getting together here pretty soon. He sent me a text this morning, actually. Good man there, that Cappy. So we will be back on tonight, and we'll take it from there. So thank everybody for hanging out. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. I'll be back on tonight after the Lakers take on the Golden State Warriors. Good preview of the game, Lakers and the Warriors. Sammy Long put up a video last night. He did it with one of the Locked On Warriors guys, so they're kind of previewing the game from both perspectives. Go take a look at that if you guys don't mind. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Please subscribe to the channel. Would really, really appreciate you guys subscribing to the channel. I missed one more super here, Otani, greatness with a walk-off on Bobble Night. He's an amazing player, unbelievable player. Thank you for being here. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.